today. It is going to feel much colder, so make sure you do bundle up. And I know that Jaclyn and Nicole are nice and warm back in the studio. I'm going to send it back to you.
I know. How unfair.
I know. We shouldn't tell her that we were even feeling a little too warm at times today.
It's hot here in the studio.
We're the worst.
We are the worst. Sorry, Kelly.
Okay. So, yeah, definitely this northwest band is setting up towards London, Exeter, breaking up a little bit from about an hour ago, Jaclyn, but still, that's going to be locked in place through the morning and afternoon.
Yeah, I heard one of our meteorologists, Matt Grincher, say if you're seeing the snow, you're likely locked into it for most of the day because those bands are not going to start to meander too much, right? So
exactly.
Northwest flow. Yeah, let's continue the story and talk a little bit about the watches and warnings. The snow squall watch up toward the north, but the warning areas are those areas we see those bands right now.
Right. Typically the snow belt regions. You know the drill. You're going to get hit with low visibility at times, and also a lot of road closures. Just about an hour ago, the 402 closed in both directions. Middlesex from 401 towards Wood Road, I think.
Okay.
And then we've got Port Elgin to Grand Bend closed as well.
Cold is the other part of the story today.
And I found out that Toronto hasn't been minus 17 since March 4th.
Okay.
And that's what we're forecasting for the afternoon and evening. We could even dip down to minus 18.
And you think about that, March 4th last year, that was later in the season to still be at that kind of, cold temperature. So yeah, we already saw our daytime high in Toronto at around 1 a.m. was about minus 10, dropping throughout the day, throughout the evening, minus 27, bundle up.
Look at Ottawa, minus 25, feeling close to minus 36. The cold air still in the east, not as bad as some other areas, like St. John's, minus 5 this evening, but certainly a lot colder in northern Quebec. Jaclyn will be looking at these stories with you throughout the next few hours.
I will. Widespread extreme cold, of course, the threat of snow squalls today and more storms into the long range. But first, we're going to talk to Dr. Howard Shapiro about wind chills from the Toronto Board of Health. Here's more on that story that we're following. Thanks a lot. It's Kelly Noseworthy reporting live for us in London, who is getting hit with the heaviest bands of snow, although not just the only ones getting snow. On my drive in from Ancaster into Oakville today, really rough driving conditions. Go slow, give yourself some extra time. Good morning to you at Barrie. Squalls will actually be sort of a little less for you today, maybe about 5 centimeters, whereas closer to Georgia Bay, about 5 to 10. But there you go, that London, the 401 to the 402, out to Grand Bend, 10 to 20 plus centimeters. Here's the thing, we have northwest winds that are really locking into place today. So strong winds, 20 to 40 kilometers an hour sustained over the lakes, but until they shift westerly, if you're in the snow, you're probably going to stay in the snow for much of the day. So if you live in London, don't think that it's going to start, lightening up. Most of it's probably going to be over your area for much of the day. And that's why yesterday we were forecasting, hey, heads up to people that live, on that 402, 401 corridor. So minus 26 you can see for London with the wind chill this evening. So not only just the snow squalls, but extremely cold. And that means light and fluffy kind of snow, what we refer to as high ratio snowfall. So not a lot of moisture in it. It's very, it doesn't take much to blow and drift the snow. So that's why the road conditions are atrocious in some areas this morning. Into the overnight, I expect the same, minus 28 in London. Moncton, good morning to you, minus 21 for your evening temperature. And Sherbrooke, same deal for you. Overnight, though, look at that, minus 39 for Sherbrooke, minus 42 for Quebec City. This is the kind of weather that it doesn't take long at all to get wind chill. Imagine if you were hiking at Mount Washington Summit. Look at this. This is Thursday morning, so the wee early morning hours tomorrow. Minus 35 will be the core temperature. Minus 80 is what it's going to feel like. Can you even get your head around that? I can't. Minus 28 and minus 38 for you with the wind chill in Montreal. So very cold there, but minus 80. When you get in that world, I don't even know what it feels like. I've never experienced that. Here's a look ahead for some of the major cities across the east and west. Calgary, minus 13. Oh, yesterday, Carrie, thanks a lot for sending that in. High pressure really grabbing a hold of much of the prairies. Yep. But watching that little Chinook today, and that means a bump up in temperatures about 2 or 3 degrees for you in Calgary. So here's the thing. We know we got to bundle up back here at home, but why is Deb Mediechka bundling up in Arizona? Here's more.
For now, back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Kelly. This is day number 2 where Jaclyn has been tricked. When I was watching Kelly there in my preview monitor, totally thought she was up to her knees in snow. And then she measures and it's okay, so she's on her knees in the snow. And Mark Robinson pulled that on me. He's out in BC yesterday. He did that. So there you go. Another joke on Jaclyn this morning. Highway 21, which is my lucky number, by the way, but not so lucky today. If you are traveling down from Kincardine down to Goderich, a lot of closures. Many closures, in fact. The 402 really getting hit hard with these snow squalls in the last half hour, the last few radar scans that we've seen, but it's lightening up slightly for now, but that's not really a hint of what's to come because warnings are going to be in place likely for most of the day. We could see 10 to 20 plus centimeters. You know how squalls go. It's hard to nail down exactly how much, but it could be a bad one right through London, the 402, Grand Bend, all getting that northwesterly flow over the Great Lakes. Here, over Lake Huron in particular, here's that road closure map that, thanks to my producer, has standing by. From the 401 down the 402, that's closed. Up 4, up 21, 9, over to Walkerton, that's closed. You can imagine with the snow, with the squalls, and then the wind on top of that, it's frigid outside. If you get stuck on the side of the road all the time, now Jaclyn, it's fine that you're warm getting into the car. Make sure you're prepared in case you ever had to get out for any prolonged period. Same deal goes for you. So listen to my husband, bundle up. Minus 32 Marathon, that's with the wind chill this evening. Thunder Bay, same deal. This evening for Toronto, minus 27. It has been some time that we have seen temperatures this cold, that far down into southern Ontario. So bundle up out there, protect your skin, and of course 2 very unfortunate fatalities due to the cold over the last 24 hours. Let's hope we don't hear more about that. Sept-Îles, minus 24, feeling like minus 35. Moncton, minus 21. So if you're in and around minus 28 to minus 39, it takes about 10 to 30 minutes to get frostbite. But if you're at minus 40 to minus 47, that's a high risk, and that takes 5 to 10 minutes. That's it. So just a matter of minutes. Can't say it enough. Bundle up.
You're watching the Weather Network, Canada's #1 source for accurate weather forecasts.
So glad you're with us. It's a cold one. Developing stories today. It's all about that extreme cold. I'm meteorologist Jaclyn Whittal. We'll talk about the squalls, the highest threat for the heaviest bands, and more storms in the long range. Yeah, Dr. Doug and I, in between going on TV here, we're talking about the latest model runs, and we're watching the next big storm. You'll hear it first on the Weather Network. All right, Trois-Rivières, minus 40 tomorrow morning. Minus 36 for Montreal. Gatineau, same deal. Imagine, though, if you were doing some hiking in Mount Washington. One of our meteorologists found this stat. Look at this. Thursday morning, minus 35 as a core temperature. Look at that, minus 80. What does that even feel like? That's like 300 kilometers away from Montreal, so pretty crazy stuff. All right, Southern Ontario, this is crazy by your standards, right? Minus 30s almost. Hamilton, tomorrow morning, you're going to be waking up to minus 15 as your base temperature. Bundle up out there. Your car might have trouble starting. Chris Murphy did the sound effects earlier, which I'm not about to do. But yeah, you might have trouble starting that car. The battery, a lot of, extra work being done on our vehicles. Make sure your snow tires are on. I'm sure they are by now, but I'll tell you, if you're making your way through the 402 at the 401 near London and all the way out to Grand Bend, Sarnia, those regions, Highway 21, it's going to be nasty. 20 plus centimeters for them. All right, let's go to Halifax. That's right, he sure will. So let's go into your forecast for Newfoundland because that's where we're watching some intense bands of snow, potentially 10 to 20 centimeters. This is through Thursday night. A couple things at play. One storm right now. You see the moisture here on the side of my screen, but that one will track out to sea. But then the next one, Thursday into Friday, and then it becomes a Saturday story really for you. Another push of snow, and you notice both those storms moved into southern Ontario. Could that be the next hint of the next storm? This is one model run, so not guaranteeing anything, but we'll keep a close eye on it. All right, let's take you now to Winnipeg, where they've seen probably the coldest temperatures this past week. Minus 25, or at least in and around Winnipeg. Before wind chill, partly cloudy. Daytime highs of minus 25. Whew. Minus 32 this morning for you in Regina. You will warm up slightly for the day. And as we push west, minus 10 in Lethbridge, we're still looking at about 2 to 5 centimeters. Yesterday, areas like Medicine Hat picked up about 16 centimeters of snow. But here's the thing. We are looking at an abundance of snow still in the higher elevations, but temperatures on the rise. Today, Calgary, you'll be up at around minus 2, which is great, but not quite great enough for Deb. She went south to get the warmer weather. Here she is. Well, thanks a lot to Nate. I think that's the big change, from say the month of December to now, is that we had a lot of systems that would push a lot of mild air into the East Coast and Ontario, a lot of rainy systems. Not so much now. That overall upper level flow flooding in a lot of cold air, as we know. A couple systems that we're tracking. Let's take a look at the wind chills, though, this afternoon right across the country. Minus 14 for you in Edmonton. That's a little better. Notice Calgary with this little mini Chinook, we're calling it. So just a brief warm up. Not a massive warm up, but we'll take it, right? Minus 27 in Toronto. You'll, people on courier bikes and that kind of thing, bicycles. And people have a lot of walking. A lot of people just walk to work and, take the transit and have a lot of areas to walk. You got to bundle up for that. Same deal for you in Montreal, of course, in Ottawa. You know the deal. It's cold, extreme cold mornings right across much of the east for temperatures like these. Minus 32 in Marathon, minus 33 this evening up toward the north. So almost to minus 30s in much of southern Ontario. Almost to minus 40s through Quebec. Look at Val d'Or, minus 40. So the message here is that, yes, it's cold, but you have to protect your skin. That's what we really want to, convey today, is that you want to make sure that you cover, all of your skin, your neck, your face, your hands, because temperatures of minus 40 to minus 47, it only takes 5 to 10 minutes to get frostbite. It's a very real thing. And I'm going to nag at my neighbor right now because my neighbor goes running in bare feet. He's into this thing where he runs in trails with bare feet. That's Ancaster, Ontario. Rob, if you're watching, make sure you protect your feet. All right, Halifax, look at this. Minus 11 for Thursday, but then up to 4 degrees with a push of mild air. We'll see some mixing occur with that next storm. We'll track that storm for you. We'll be watching it. Look ahead for you in Toronto, minus 9. Regina, minus 32. Good morning to you. Bundle up before wind chill, minus 32. And with this, we have a push of snow with the next developing clipper. It will bring about 2 to 5 for Regina, 2 to 5 centimeters for you in Calgary and Lethbridge. But do enjoy that warm up Calgary. You can see a little bit of winds. That's when those isobars are packed tightly together. It's an indication of some strong winds. And when we have the winds subsiding on the other side of the mountain range, that means they warm as they come down the side of the mountain. They compress and they warm. So it's a Chinook. It's a mini one, but we'll take it for sure on the West Coast. All right. Speaking of you on the West Coast, Vancouver, back up to seasonal temperatures, lots of sunshine. Edmonton, minus teens before wind chills, and Calgary getting that brief warm up. So, okay, we've been telling you about Deb in Arizona. This time she has champagne in the desert. Does it get much better than this? And she leaves us back in the cold. Deb? All right, thanks a lot for joining us on this Wednesday, very cold Wednesday morning. Yeah, we're here to help you keep warm. So firstly, if you have to be outside, we want you to know this information. It doesn't take very long to get frostbite when you have temperatures between minus 40 and minus 47, and a lot of the country is like that today. So that's a high risk of frostbite, 5 to 10 minutes of exposure. Boom, you've got frostbite. So be careful out there. Make sure all of your skin is protected. And let's take you here. This is a look at Ship Cove, Newfoundland. Cold. It almost has like a turquoise color, kind of like a turquoise color that we see here. Yes, except these mean minus 27 this afternoon. So Toronto, at about 1 in the morning, you reached your balmy daytime high, about minus 10. And now you'll be dropping throughout the day. This afternoon, minus 20s, minus 30s, and there you go. Look at North Bay, I should say, minus 38. That's pretty close to that minus 40 range. And then tomorrow morning, same kind of deal right across southern Ontario. If we look at this afternoon's temperatures through Montreal and Quebec, Trois-Rivières, same deal, minus 20s. Val d'Or, minus 40, minus 43 at Roberval, Rivière-du-Loup, that's minus 40. Very chilly temperatures, the coldest we've seen not only since 2015, because we're only about a week in, but probably over the last fiscal year to date. So very, very cold air. I'm sure we rivaled it last winter, but pretty darn close. 10 to 20 centimeters, Argentia. This is through Thursday night. So we have a system that will bring through about 5 to 10 centimeters today. And then as we get into the next 24 hours, we have another system that will move through and bring another round of snow, especially for you in southern Nova Scotia. Same for Ontario. Couple pushes of snow, lake effect snow today, 10 to 20 centimeters. We talked about that area, London, Grand Bend, and then we're going to keep an eye on a clipper that moves through next. We'll talk about that coming up. And it's all about the cold. You know that new song, It's All About the Bass? It's all about the cold today right across the country. Very extreme wind chills. We have extreme cold alerts right across the country. Of course, we'll be tracking this as this story develops. But first, we're going to be bringing in our own storm hunter who has dealt with a lot of snowfall on the West Coast. First, he started off as rain, Mark. As you climbed an elevation, boy, did this storm deliver. Good morning. Now, Mark, before we let you go, what are your plans from Revelstoke onwards? If you could just tell us really quickly.
Yeah, well, we're going to go to Revelstoke, and then from there we're going up to Rogers Pass to check out their avalanche control, and from there we're going over to Kicking Horse to check out the resort and see their avalanche control
Wonderful.
for this major storm that we've been through.
All right, we look forward to all those reports. Doing a great job, Mark Robinson. Thank you very much. Whistler, you picked up almost 40 centimeters of snow. Some of the other mountains, Mount Seymour, almost 40. Cypress Mountain, about 54 centimeters, but the big one that stands out is Kelowna, who doesn't see snowfall very much. In fact, the last time that they saw that amount was 35 years ago. All right, another developing clipper. We have some downsloping through on Alberta. You'll get up to about 2 or 3 degrees today, so enjoy that. So who's seeing the snow today? Widespread extreme cold. We'll talk about that, of course, and also more storms into the long-range forecast. It's all important to get across to you. We picked up 16 centimeters of snow yesterday, and then through your Thursday, we're still going to see that snow continue. Calgary 2 to 5, Slave Lake 2 to 5, Saskatoon, Regina. On top of that, your temperatures are about minus 35. You know, with the wind chills, it's almost close to minus 40 in many places. Same for you in Ontario. Very extreme cold. The snow squalls continue. We are going to be watching that 402, 401 corridor. 10 to 20 centimeters of snow possible. Already are seeing some closures, today, this morning. So we'll keep an eye on that. And then we'll talk about you in the east. That's next. Easy to drive there with all the snowfall. How much snowfall has fallen? Well, here's some totals right across the BC interior. 40 centimeters for Vernon. Mark is on his way to Revelstoke next. 30 centimeters fell there, but 38 centimeters for Kelowna. I'm going to bring Mark Robinson in on the scene here. Mark, it's been 35 years since Kelowna has seen that kind of snow. Can you imagine that? You're standing on a mountain of snow in the mountains. Tell us more.
Back inside you.
Okay, Mark, and Nagy's storm chase partner, put your gloves on, do up your coat. He looks like he might be cold. And you probably are cold because everyone's cold right across the country here. We do have a push of mild air on the west coast. This is good news for areas like Calgary, who will bump up to about 2 degrees. You can see that mild air certainly building into the west coast. There's what I'm talking about. -4s, -9s, +2, -2. That's a lot better. That's a lot more comfortable, but push east, and there's the Arctic air flooding in the rest of the country. -20 for you before wind chills in Winnipeg. And here is a look at the winds. So this warm front's going to slide on through. This is a developing area of low pressure. It's an Alberta clipper. It will bring some strong northwesterly winds on the backside of that, so any snow that's on the ground will be blowing around and drifting potentially, especially along that Highway 1 through Swift Current, right through the better part of the prairies. Rough driving conditions. However, it's fairly moisture starved, so it doesn't have a lot of precipitation to fall out of it, basically. So only about 2 to 5 centimeters until you get to the higher elevations. No shortage of moisture along the Great Lakes today. We still have that northwest flow over Lake Huron. That's just hammering areas like London. And we're going to keep an eye on this next clipper. That'll move through. That's the same one I was just talking about. Notice it picks up moisture as it gets closer to the Great Lakes, and that's typical. Winds will be out of the southwest by Thursday night into Friday, so a little bump in temperatures. That'll make things a little bit more pleasant. However, you are looking at some snow with that system as well. That all pushes east into the Maritimes and could bring a messy mix to them and some snowfall as well. But here's the snowfall for today, 10 to 20 plus centimeters. It's hard to isolate when we're talking about a snow squall, especially like over that London area where they're very, very persistent, exactly how much you'll see. But if you live there, you know to look out and drive safe. To control the avalanche potential. Mark Robinson knows all about that. I remember, we're going to talk to him in a minute. I remember one time traveling through to Banff, and we were stuck on the side of the road, and people were getting out and getting their sleds out and having fun on the side of the road. Make the best of it, right? When you're handed lemons, make lemonades. But I'm going to bring my storm chase partner in, Mark Robinson. Oh, I see you're down to a T-shirt out in BC. You're doing that just so I nag at you to put some winter clothes on. Good morning.
Good morning, Jaclyn. Yes, I'm doing this just so you can nag me.
All right, Mark, thanks a lot and doing a great job out there. I tell him to stay warm, but he says it's mild. He's in a T-shirt. You saw it yourself. Avalanche potential continuing. We'll talk about that coming up. I just want to say that my producer, Jamie, just told me that they call those snow ghosts when the trees are bent over like that, heavy with snow and almost covered in snow on the ski hills. Snow ghosts. So there you go. Learn something new every day. North Caribous, the North Columbias, the Glaciers, the South Columbias, the Kootenays, all looking at the potential for high or avalanche potential that is at high today. And look at why. I mean, these snow totals right across the BC interior, pretty big. Thursday, temperature contrast. Look at the return of the mild air, the Pacific Ocean really doing its job by keeping things mild on the west coast, where we see the continent freezing up. And this is what we have. It's called continentality. It means extremes, both cold and warm. So in the summer, it's not so bad. But right now we have to worry about the wind chills right across the country, and Dr. Shapiro with the Toronto Board of Health has more on how to avoid it.